podcast alongside me.
Hello, everyone. Good to be here. Real quick, I do have the Twitch going. If you guys have questions, I will direct you over to Declan's live stream. I think it'd be easier there. I was having some trouble getting the chat page to pop up. So if you really have an important question, go over there, ask the question. Otherwise, I'll try to ask what I remember people saying and then just go from there. But either way, good to be here. So.
Yep, so any questions will get read out by my text-to-speech, and then we'll forward them on to Andy and Jason. So we've got Andy and Jason here, developers of TFM. Hi, both of you.
Hello.
Hello.
Alright, so while we wait for some questions, let's just start out with a basic one and say, I think the last time we spoke to you was back end of last year, so what's gone on since then as a rough summary? Either of you.
Okay, see, Andy, you want to go first?
What's been going on since then is I had started working on the PMDG stuff a little bit. The FMC needed a rewrite, so I took on that task and temporarily suspended the freeware stuff with the flight planner. We attempted to fix some Airbus problems with takeoff assist, and there's been a few other things. I think Jason can cover the rest.
Sure. So, yeah, just as far as new things that we've been working on, I mean, I've been working on the PMDG support as well. So, Andy was helping me out with the FMC. Just to be clear, the existing FMC did work, but it was a little tough to use and a little hard to sort of wrap your head around what was displayed where. So Andy came up with the idea of, basically rendering it out as HTML, which is going to make it much easier to do. And the reason Andy took that over is because Andy knew how to do that, and I didn't. So, but in addition to that, like I said, I've been writing some of the panels for the PMDG 737. Just to clarify, the 737, commercial aircraft, very complex aircraft. I pretty much have to code all the panels, individually. So, I've got the anti-ice done, I've got the electrical panel done, the engine start panels done, and fuel pumps, hydraulic pumps. All those are done, so I'm continuing to work on that. So, and just recently I put in some fixes. It's not released yet, but recently I submitted some fixes for a couple of issues, one of which was the heading announcements, where if you were on an ILS, your heading was announcing true and magnetic. I did fix that. That was actually something I'd put in for debugging and forgot to take out. So that's been taken out. I did also fix the issue where the GPWS callouts, if you were descending, and let's say it was reading 2500, 1500, and then all of a sudden you went back up, like if you were doing a go around, when you came back down again, those callouts didn't read anymore. So they only read once, and so that's now been fixed. And also doing some reworking of the audio system. So, where sounds can now play simultaneously. So if it's in the middle of a call out and you press the right or left bracket keys, it shouldn't interrupt the call out anymore. So that's sort of the short version of what's been going on.
Awesome. I want to throw something out there to the listeners. And, because there's a whole lot of stuff that happened behind closed doors. And we had talked about this, Jason, you probably remember, we all remember, in the beginning that it was stated that it was going to be a long process. This wasn't going to be, a month or 2 months and it'd be all ready to go. And I think people maybe are confused on why is this happening, or who's doing this and who's doing that. Well, I will speak. I'm speaking for you, Jason. I'll speak
Right.
for him because he works every day, Monday through Friday. I know what that's like. So, for example, I got a job that I do every week, and now college came back in. Time is very very minimal. So if I was programming, it'd probably be like maybe on a Sunday I could do a little bit. But so I guess what I'm saying, Jason, is that affects how fast things are moving, and I understand that, and I want you guys to know that. I get that, and I think others do too. And not, they need to get it, because it's not like this stuff can be done in a day. So
Right.
I just wanted to throw that out there.
So
Yeah,
one
for
question
sure.
I mean, we've all...
And-
Are you
Oh,
going?
okay. No, go ahead, Declan.
Okay, I was going to say, so just moving on a bit, because we haven't had any questions yet. If you are on John's stream, I don't think he's got his chat working, so go over to my stream and it'll be read out by TTS, otherwise we're not going to see your question. Or put
Yeah,
it,
and I do have a couple questions that I picked up
Yeah.
earlier this week. So
I think one of the main ones is, so if we clear this up completely, what is your current thinking in terms of the division of tasks? So I know Andy's stepped in on PMDG and Jason was doing PMDG, and Jason's now doing some of the main TFM stuff. What's your current thinking on the division of tasks?
Sure. Maybe I'll start there, Andy, and then you can jump in. So the way
Okay, that'll work.
so the way this was typically working, you're right. So I was doing the the PMDG stuff, and Andy was working on things like the flight planner. When I got a lot busier with work and that sort of thing, Andy agreed to help chip in with the FMC rewrite, and actually it was Andy's idea to do the rewrite. And so it was a skill set that Andy had that I didn't. So something like, sure, makes sense, for you to do that. The pieces that I'm working on now it's code that I originally wrote. So like some of the bug fixes that I'm doing, it's code that I originally wrote. So it made sense for me to fix it. But the plan is, as soon as Andy is done with the with the FMC, which is almost done, then Andy will go back to working on the freeware, flight planner, all that sort of stuff, and I'll continue to work on the PMDG and whatever else. But the fact is there's only two of us, and so as John, as you said earlier, that things only happen as fast as we can get to them, and if Andy and I both have other stuff going on, especially things that we're getting, paid for as far as full-time work, then that, obviously that and family and all that sort of thing needs to take priority.
yeah,
So that's what's going on is that I'm still working on PMDG. I'm not working on TFM as much as I was, but I am still certainly working on it. And Andy will absolutely be going back, because we hear people loud and clear that you want to get rid of Tramp. We get it. So the plan is, as soon as Andy's done with the FMC, that then we'll dive back into flight planning. So
okay. And Andy, I'll let you jump in as well on that. I'm just going to say that there was a question I had, and you guys pretty much covered it. They wanted to know, hey, I thought the flight. I'm not going to read the long question. I'm just going to summarize.
Marshall
it.
Fairbrother.
Same thing, right?
Hi.
Basically, I thought the flight plan was being worked on. Now you're on this. Well, you just answered that question, Jason. So I'm not going to ask the question over. But there's really, no simpler way to put it. Now that you guys have stated that, and this should clear it up. Like, there really shouldn't be no anger involved. Just a clear understanding of what's going on, and they're clearly telling us what's going on, and I think that's most important. Andy, go ahead. I'm sure you want to jump in on that too.
Yeah, so Jason pretty much put it the way that I would put it. The one thing that I want to make mention of is when we first started out, and I had for the freeware stuff, and Jason had the payware stuff with the PMDG. It was kind of almost like a division of projects, if you will. PMDG was his baby. The freeware stuff, the flight planner especially, was my baby. But I think now focus has changed where we will switch on and off and flip things around to better meet each other's skill set. Rather than say, this is my part of the project, this is your part of the project. Because things are now largely complicated and how they get done and what's involved. Before it was pretty simple, easy type of things, and we could say, this is my part of the project, this is yours. But now since things are complicated, we basically have to manage things based on available time and skill set. So if Jason is more skilled at a particular thing than I am when it comes to a flight planner, then yeah, by all means he can take over and do that part. If I'm have more of an ability to deal with the FMC and HTML, since I've done HTML for quite a while, then I will jump in and take over and do that. But just because one of us flips over and does freeware when we're supposed to be doing payware doesn't mean the payware is going to be left alone. And I know there's been huge concern about the freeware and the flight planner stuff, and the fact that people haven't seen much of anything doesn't mean that it is going away or it has permanently halted. Before we go on to the next section, I want to make mention of people. There's been some concern again about no developments being made on TFM for quite a long time, like maybe a week, 2 weeks. And there's been no commits for a week or two. That just means that we do not have code that is ready to be sent to GitHub yet, or the repository. That does not mean that we're not working on it. Mm-hmm. There's been a time there's been a time like for 2 weeks I have not submitted any code on the FMC other than the initial setup for it. My goal is to finish this thing and then submit it all in one chunk.
Right. If you don't mind, let me jump in just for a second, because I do want to speak to a listener. When the PMDG first came out, it didn't even come out. It was you could what's the word for that, where you gotta compile it yourself and stuff, Jason?
Build.
Yeah,
you had to build it.
When there was a build for the PMDG and you could somewhat fly the PMDG, that was not a commit to say it's ready to fly, have fun.
Absolutely not.
That was up to you to decide to download it, and I even messed with it, and I was completely okay with it changing. I'm not going to sit here and say, "Oh man, I put several weeks into learning that," because I didn't. Like 2 or 3 days, and I pretty much knew the sum of what was there so far. But point is, now that it's changed, don't gripe that you got to start over, because that's not their fault. That's your fault for downloading it, learning it, and then it changes and you throw a tantrum. That is not their fault by no means. When all these commits come out and we mess with it and we download it and we break it, guess what? I'm taking you right back to day one when we first met Jason on the podcast and Andy on the podcast. What did we say? You break it, it's your problem. I mean, I hate to be so blunt, but how else do you put it? Like, you know.
So yeah, and I mean, just to add, I mean, so John's right. I mean, so this is open source software. We're developing it, on the fly, and people can see, people can see everything that happens. People can see commits that get sent in. But until we say that something is a feature is ready, anything and everything could change. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's until we say, okay, this feature is done. Everybody agrees. Yeah, it's done. It works well. Then we probably won't touch it a whole lot. But when we're in active development on a feature, it's all bets are off as far as will it change? Will it what will change? And I mean, to be honest, we could start on a feature and go, crap, this isn't working, and just pull it. Like, that hasn't happened, but it could.
Don't make
the
me
main-
prosecute you, Jason.
Yeah,
no, I'm
no.
kidding.
Well,
I've
the
done it.
main,
I broke it, and
the-
I'm prosecuting both of you right now. It's getting
yeah,
filed.
right.
No,
the main
it's-
one that I'm the main one that I'm thinking of is takeoff assist right now. It's broken and it's in a permanently broken state at this point. The only reason we haven't pulled it is because we're going to need it for the flight planner. So eventually it will get
I will
fixed.
say
but as it's
that works.
as of this point,
besides
it's
with the
broken.
Airbus, like I recall using it, and the only time I've seen problems with that, and we don't got to dive all deep into that, but it was just the Airbus. It went nuts with the Airbus. But other than that,
yeah.
I thought it worked just fine. Did anybody else use it, Declan?
I think
Anybody?
it works in other aircraft. Yeah, it's just something with the Airbus that we're still inactively trying to figure out why.
It does not like the Airbus. It just
Yeah.
15 feet and you're going back to the ground. And it's like,
Yeah.
but the point is, guys, another key word to all this, and I understand it and I get it. Freeware. There's no commitment to anything when it's free. It's free. That if you paid for it, then now you got a reason to run to Jason and say, you know what, dude, I paid $100 for the program. Why is it not working? Free, we really don't have much standing to say a whole. Well, we can say what we want, but what's
yeah.
the result don't change.
And that's what I was
You
saying
know.
about the community in the group. All the various groups we got. I'm sure Andy and Jason can chip in on this, but they're happy to receive feedback and suggestions and questions about what's going on with the project. But you got to keep it, you got to keep it sensible because it is only freeware. You are not paying for a service that is not being delivered.
Right, and keep it professional, guys. Like, if I got a question, usually I'll just message Andy or I'll message Jason, and most of the time they get right back to me, or otherwise it might be a day later if they're working, whatever. But if we start saying, well, this person said the he she said stuff, that doesn't resolve anything whatsoever. And it frustrates the programmers because they're trying to do what they can. And I'm sure they've heard all kinds of stuff. I can almost guarantee it. They've heard something here, something there, and they're like, what the hell? So, I mean, I get it. And I'm not saying the other people don't, but we just have to be patient. And trust me, sometimes I'm
Yeah.
like, damn it. Come on, Flight Planner, stupid Tramp. Right now I'm having trouble with Tramp, but it is what it is. I'll run to Declan; he'll help me fix it.
Yeah, and I mean, so I guess what I can reassure people is the flight planner absolutely is a priority. As soon as Andy's done with the, with the FMC, which is I think Andy, I don't want to speak for you, but I think is almost done. Then we can go back to flight planner, and I think that's going to be the big push because we know, like I said, we hear it loud and clear that people want off Tramp. So I think that will be the next big thing. I will probably still keep working on the PMDG just because I know there are people out there that want it. I think there are more people that want flight planner. But I think having access to our first payware aircraft is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I'm going to keep working on that as as time permits. But I do think that the next push is going to be to try to get us off of Tramp, because I don't want to pay the guy either.
Right.
Another license. I'm coming up here, I think, in April, and I don't know if we'll be done by April. I don't I wouldn't want to put a time on it, but it would be great if I didn't have to pay to pay him again.
Yeah, exactly. And I've got the question here, and pretty much you answered already, Jason, is there an estimated time on when they could expect it for Flight Planner? I mean, the question's there, I'll ask it, but I believe it's clearly done been answered. We don't know.
There is no time frame.
I never. Yeah, no, we're not going to give time frames. It's just because this is not all we do. If we worked on TFM as our full time job, then maybe we could give you a better idea.
Yeah,
but
maybe,
but
yeah.
You know what? Maybe, but probably not.
And you don't know what roadblocks that you're going to hit anyway.
But because
the process, so.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, the good thing is we know it can be done. Obviously,
course,
right? Because
yeah.
other software is doing it. It's just we're having to. I mean,
Take off
the guy from Tramp isn't going to tell us. Yeah, the guy from Tramp isn't going to tell us. Here's how I did this particular feature that we're trying to duplicate for free. So it's we're gonna have to figure stuff out as we go along. And you know what? We'll probably screw it up at some point.
Yeah, I was going to say, when it's done, there's probably going to be bugs. There's going to be stuff.
Of course.
Yeah.
When that Flight
Well,
Planner comes
I
out,
guarantee you there'll be bugs.
And we want to assure you,
You're
and
gonna
I think we
guarantee
can
you.
say for the whole community that there won't, because this was something Andy had asked. Would there be criticism or frustration? Well, I mean, of course, people want things to work straight away, but anyone who gets frustrated or angry because a feature isn't working as was advertised initially, well, I think it's a much more community-driven thing. We can all see where it's going. It's not like Tramp, where the developer's a dick, and we're paying for a service, and he doesn't provide it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, it's yeah, exactly. And like you said, Jason, there's going to be bugs. I mean, there's stuff that you guys correct now. There's stuff that nothing major, but point being, it's not coming out of the box nice and shiny and everything's just perfect. If anybody thinks that, you should go to sleep and wake back up and think about it again, because it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I think we've done pretty well as far as I don't think we tend to release stuff that's horribly broken, on a regular basis. But absolutely,
but it is software.
Right.
And as I said before, TFM in a huge way was a learn to code project for me. So I still am. I'm learning C# as I code TFM. So, so to take that as it is. So, if things take a little longer, it's because I'm trying to figure out,
hey, how do I do
among
that?
other time commitments, I'm trying to figure out how the hell do I do this? So
Or how the hell did you do it?
that's-
How did I do that? That's cool.
I haven't run into that too much yet. Occasionally I look back at a piece of code and go, wow, I'm not quite sure what I did there. But I've been pretty lucky so far that I haven't really run into much of that.
And I mean, let's be honest here, guys. If you have a question, not a complaint and nitpick, but a question, I'm sure they would love to answer a question if you message them. But if you message them and we're saying, you know what, Andy, you're a jerk. You won't do this or do that. He's probably not going to answer me. He's probably going to, I ain't talking to that guy. Why should I?
Right.
But point being, communication, guys, it works for even my job alone. I'm sure Jason's job, and on the side of entertainment, communication is priority, and it's key point. Communicate, and everything is much more clear.
Yeah.
So,
and it's I mean we enjoy doing it. We really do enjoy doing it, and I want I guess I want to sort of apologize to anybody if people feel like we misled them as far as like priorities. That certainly was never our intention to do that.
I think people was scared
if
that
people,
it was forgotten or something. I think that's what I've been picking up a lot, is that it's been kind of put in the back, and well, I'll get to it when whenever.
Well, and part of it, honestly, part of it is if we've been working on one particular feature for, if Andy or I have been working on a particular feature for, a month, and then we just, sometimes it's good just to put it down, and I'm sick of looking at this, and I want to go.
You need a break. You want to do something different.
And I remember you saying that, Jason, when we was talking, I don't know, a month ago or whatever, and you was like, man, this PMDG, it's a lot, and you was like, it's nice to get away from it for a minute. I can respect that by 120%. Even when I was learning just simple HTML, after a while I was like, man, I need a break. And that's nothing super, but point being, no matter what you're doing, sometimes you just need a little breathing space,
Well,
yeah.
There's one thing I learned. There's one thing that a professor told me way back when I was in school, and it makes a lot of sense. And that is, if you work on a certain thing for so long, a few things tend to happen. One, you get too close to it and you have a biased opinion. That's not always good.
Right.
Two, you could suffer burnout. That's never good. And three, you could get too close to your work and get sloppy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because, I'll give you a simple example of how that could happen. So the airport's dialog box, you go to Flight Planner, then you go to Procedures, Airports. Now, the airports, runways, gates, taxiways, SIDS, and stars are supposed to look similar. They'll act exactly the same. It'll just have different content. Now, after I get done with the airport's dialogue, I could very well have ran through that whole thing in a stint of 2 to 3 weeks. Copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. This is all the same. Copy, paste, copy, paste. Yeah. I've done this so long. No big deal. And then all of a sudden the whole infrastructure is broken. And now you can't figure out where things went wrong. Why did they go wrong? So sometimes it's better you just put it down and go back to it later when you can.
Them rules apply to anything you're doing like that. Even simple as last summer I was working on my mother's car, her transmission went out. And I'd never done that ever in my life, ever. Change the transmission on a front wheel drive. I don't recommend it, for the record. Anyway, I got out there and I got into it so deep, I burned out, and then I started getting confused on some of the simple things that I did know, like the little things. And I stepped away. I told my mom, I'm like, I got to take a break. I got to. If I don't, you might want to get a new car because it's not going back together. And I took a break for about a week and a half. But when I went back out and tackled it, I completely fixed it. I put everything back together. I put the new tranny in. I bolted it, everything. And matter of fact, it's still running. No problems. So,
yeah.
Point is, take a break. It does make a big difference.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to say too is we're living right now. Doesn't matter where you are. We're living in very weird times as far as COVID-19 and all the rest of that. So, what I'm always really conscious of is, yes, I love coding. Yes, I love technology. I love my job. But I've also got, I've got a girlfriend, I've got friends, I've got, other commitments outside of coding. So that also needs to take a priority in these odd times where, when we can't, we can't actually go see people and see friends and stuff like we used to. So
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I guess that's what I want to say as well.
And
Is that
why we're doing
is
this.
that
And I get everybody's
Yeah,
frustrated. I mean, Jason gets it, Andy gets it, Declan, me. I get it. I totally
Oh, I
get
can
it
understand
Yeah.
it, yeah.
because of the
People see like all the
you know,
commits, there's no commit, they're
Yeah.
kind of worried and they think what's going on. But this is why we do things like this, so you get the idea of the reasons and the actual, there's usually a reason,
Yeah, and
right? If they switch
on
features
top
or
of the
something doesn't
COVID.
Yep.
happen.
you're frustrated because of the COVID, so we're kind of lashing out, frustrated with that at the same time. So I think that's another reason for us to kind of just say, okay, I get it. Man, they're being jerks,
Yeah.
but then we're like, I get it. But like you said, Jason and Declan, we got stuff outside of this. I got friends that I ain't seen for the longest time, would love to, and can't. So, there's other priorities.
Yeah. So I mean, so yeah. So I guess I mean, I don't want to beat it to death, but the flight planner is coming. We will get off tramp. I can't tell people exactly when, but just be patient. You'll get it.
Right.
And it's gonna happen.
Not tomorrow, guys.
Yeah, you
Not
gotta
tomorrow.
be literal. After some
Not
of the emails
tomorrow.
we received, one this afternoon in particular, you
Oh
gotta be
Yeah.
my
literal.
gosh.
Yes, you gotta be literal. with
Not
this.
tomorrow.
Yeah, not tomorrow, or the day after.
And the other
Go ahead.
thing that I was going to mention with the delay, especially like earlier this week, is I'm transitioning to a new laptop, so it takes time to put this stuff back together again.
Gotcha, yeah. In the short term, there might be a few
Yes,
delays
it does.
on that side, yeah.
Yeah.
So, unless
But
you have
one
any other
one of the
questions,
things.
people put
So,
them in chat.
sorry.
You go ahead, carry on.
Oh, I just said the I am gonna
Mm-hmm.
probably push a release here in the next few days. That'll have the fixes that I've done. So the audio fixes, GPWS, heading, all that sort of stuff. I'm gonna want to add just a couple quick more things, and then I'll push a release.
I'm going to ask you why I got you here because I don't know if anybody else has seen this. A couple of people said they saw it too. Now, granted, when you're done flying, you close TFM, and I get that. But like right now, I forgot to close TFM, and I left off in Indianapolis, and now TFM is saying that I'm in like close to Tennessee somewhere. It's like TFM is flying like it's an airplane, right? Like it's continuing to fly. I don't know if anybody else has seen that or not. And it's not like a bug where it's causing a problem, but it's like, I'm like, wait, I'm not flying. Like, what's going on
Is your
here?
sim closed?
Yeah, my sim's completely closed, and TFM is just continuing to tell me that I'm going from city to city, and I'm like, I'm going nowhere. It's closed.
That's really strange.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I've
Yeah,
never
mine
seen that,
usually.
wow.
Mine usually defaults to South Pacific Ocean.
Oh, so it's going to go back to that? Is that what you mean? Like it will?
Yeah, it's
Well,
what
I
mine
think it's
does.
just getting some odd data from somewhere. Yeah, like
I was like,
I think what we probably need to do is go look at the code and when the sim closes, because there's probably the code that detects if the sim is running is probably not shutting down the.
maybe have it shut down or
I know
something.
mine will sometimes stop responding when my sim
It-
closes, so it's, yeah. I don't know, there might be something in there that it's not shutting TFM down, I'm not sure.
Like maybe have some kind of shutdown when the sim closes. If it sees that it's not running, it just bloop, goes away.
Yeah, it's like what Tramp does.
Yeah,
If the simulator closes, it closes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can look at that for sure.
Let me ask you one more question that I'm not the only one that's asked this, and I think we've discussed this before, and I think it's coming from Tramp. I'm pretty sure it's coming from Tramp, and that is the annoying autopilot on, autopilot off, autopilot on, autopilot off. Like,
Oh, is this the altitude lock thing?
Oh, the altitude
lock
lock
on.
on and off.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that That's something that Tramp is doing, because all TFM does is announce the state change.
So that's a Tramp thing, then.
That's a
Right.
Tramp thing.
I'm pretty sure.
because-
Yeah.
Yeah, because in response to a lot of people actually saying something about it, I took an airplane up without Tramp
Leonian
and went
Universe.
to a cruising altitude
Take
of
as
like
long as you need.
32,000.
If
And
I
it
only
never
gotta
mentioned
pay for
anything
one
about
add-on in
altitude
FSX
lock
and
on,
not all this
altitude
other
lock
crap
off.
that
See,
would
I was
rock.
thinking
Middle
that
of
it
climb.
hadn't done it when the first program was out that you did, Jason. I was thinking that it didn't do that, but maybe it did. I'm not saying it did it for sure.
I don't think
didn't
it
do
did,
that,
but it might be that there's just been an addition of a reading of an instrument at perhaps the altitude lock in the latest one, and that has meant that Tramp's mistake is being read. Something like that, probably.
It's like when them flies,
could
you
also
swat
be-
at and it won't go away.
Yeah, because I'm having.
But it could also
I'm
what it could
hav-
also be. Sorry,
I'm
guys.
No, I'm having a hunch what probably is going on is Tramp in the middle of climbs and descents is turning
That's when it
altitude
does it,
lock
yeah.
on and turning it off again.
Because
So,
it
like,
doesn't
it's
do
turning
it
it
at
off.
cruising altitude. It only
No,
does it
'cause
when
I
you're
think what
climbing or
it's-
descending.
Yeah, because I think what it does is it turns it off, makes a quick adjustment, and then turns it back on again.
What was your thought, Jason?
Well, what I'm wondering is if we didn't see it in the old Python version, it could also be that the so TFM in its most simplest form just runs a great big loop every I think it's about every 200 milliseconds it runs a loop that just checks everything, and if something changes it lets you know. In the old Python version, I wasn't checking nearly as fast, so it could be that it was still happening. It's just because we weren't checking instruments
Oh, the gap was a
quite
bit
so
longer.
frequently.
So it's kind of like
That-
a self-fixer. It checks it to make sure everything's in order, so to speak.
Yeah. So that could be what's going on too.
Okay.
So
I just wanted to put it out there so someone can't say, well, you didn't ask. I asked you the question to ask you, and you didn't ask it. Well, there you go, guys. I asked again.
Yeah. We got a comment here from
Declan, were you trying
Leonian
to-
Universe. I probably butchered your name, I've no idea, but anyway. Who says, take as long as you like. If I only have to pay for one add-on and FSX and not all this other stuff, then that would rock. So I think he's, or they're talking about, the fact that TFM is taking the place or going to take the place of some other add-ons that we'll no longer need.
Yeah.
right.
And thanks for understanding, guys. I mean, I'm kind of speaking for these
Yeah.
guys, but I'm sure they appreciate that for having an understanding because, again, I mean, Jason, like you said, FS Tramp, your key's probably about to come up where you got to get it again. I think mine's coming up here soon. If we can get lucky enough to not pay
guys,
that guy
if you have
another
a problem
dollar.
and you're waiting for a key, ask around. Try and get hold of a key because I don't want people sending their well-earned money to the developer. He's an idiot. So ask around, and people, I'm sure, will be happy to give you one of their keys, and you can use it.
It'd be different if people wasn't mean to you and rude to you and but that's where I'll leave it. But yeah,
Yeah, don't.
something
spend
can get worked out. Ask around for sure.
until we get the TFM solution. But yeah,
Great.
that is coming. I mean, I was going to say, one thing that did occur to me and a few people were wondering about, would you consider doing something like a fortnightly update on, and I know you do this anyway, so I encourage people to get on Talking Flight Monda's Discord, with a little list of things that have been worked on, because I know for people, if you can't see the commits or whatever, or you don't, like you think, oh, nothing's going on, when actually it is going on. So look at the Discord at the very least, everyone, and then you'll see the little discussions that go on, and you'll know what's happening.
And you know what? I'll even have.
Yeah, I think.
Go ahead, Jason. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think we'd sort of do that anyway. I mean, we tend to post, Andy or I tend to post when we're working on things, either
Yeah,
on WhatsApp or on
and
Discord. I
this
know not
podcast
everybody's on
is
WhatsApp.
kind of a bit of an update. It's less frequent, but it is also an update as well. So yeah.
And we might
Yeah.
at bvipilots.com maybe have a little box somewhere at the top of the page, or somewhere that just checks the commit, to see if there's been any updates. I don't know how hard that would be to do, Andy. I know you helped me with that.
That shouldn't
some
be
of that
too hard.
coding.
Yeah, it shouldn't be very hard to do.
Yeah.
And then you could at least go there
No,
and
it
say,
should be
okay,
pretty easy.
nothing's, it ain't showing. Just a thought. I mean, quick way to check,
Yeah. The other thing too is that we tend to work, like, we may be committing things, but not on. I don't want to get too technical, but we may not be committing things on the master branch. So if people are just watching the master branch, then there might be, like, I know Andy's got a FMC branch for the PMDG stuff that we haven't merged in yet.
Leonian
So, I mean,
Universe.
It's entirely
I have
possible
subscribed
there's
to the
stuff going on
TFM
that you
YouTube
just
channel.
don't see it.
I am
on
looking
the
forward to the
regular
upcoming
branches.
And I
tutorials on
think
TFM
that,
and how
Jason,
best to use it.
And correct me if I'm wrong, because you guys are programmers. Here, I think, is the other problem with people, like, now they're still expecting all this. I think in the beginning, a lot of stuff was coming out, a lot of changes were going in, new updates. But a lot of that was a lot easier to do, from what I understood with Andy. Like, a lot of it was simple, small stuff, and so add them changes, put a new update, changes, put a new update. Now it's getting more complex, I think. And
Yeah.
maybe I'm wrong, but we got used to that
Nope.
everyday commit or something, and don't stay on that, guys. Like, that's gone. Okay, it's at least that's
You figure the bigger the better, the longer it takes.
so. I think that people
Yeah,
just
pretty
got
much.
stuck on that, the way it came out every other day and stuff. I think they got used to that, and they're like, now it's once a week or once every 2 weeks, and they're like, oh no, they're freaking out. Like, that's to be expected, I think.
Yep. No, I think I can safely say I'm still committed to the project as much time as I can put into it. I will. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. The things that we're working on now are a lot more complicated, and it's harder to sort of release bits and pieces of these things. Like, it's sort of like,
Yeah.
we
can't
kind
release
of have
bits
to
of
release it when the
PMDG, really.
feature's done, or nothing's gonna. Yeah.
And while we got you on here, Jason, for you and Andy, because you guys got some cool stuff coming up in the near future, do you want to tell anybody about the what's it called? You guys are going to be joining or possibly trying to get into with the whole PMDG thing. How's that looking as far as I don't know if it's like a conference thing or what it is, but
Oh, that
Matthew
okay. Sorry, I
Suggs.
wasn't sure
Yeah.
where you were going with
What
that.
TFM
Sim
sim is
Expo.
for?
Yeah, so I'm gonna. Yeah, so we're gonna try to get into Flight Sim Expo, which is in June. I need to submit that. I'm hoping to do it this week, and see if we can get a talk. Just to talk about flight sim accessibility. Flight Sim Expo is one of the large simming conferences. I think it's in June. So
Oh, yeah, that's one of the
yeah, I'm
biggest,
gonna see if we can get in there.
yeah, and that's
That'd be
not
great.
just PMDG though, guys. That's to get the
Oh, no,
name
no.
out there all together. And I think there was some misunderstanding with that oh well, it's just covering PMDG. It's covering accessibility around the clock of TFM.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
no,
TFM
it's
itself, not
PMDG,
just. Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to get that out there so they would understand that. 'Cause
Yeah.
I think there was some confusion.
But yeah, that'd be really cool because I know a lot of main
Yeah.
island developers go, so that'd get a lot of traction. Let me just go through a few comments here. That was a tongue twister. Okay, Leonian says he's subscribed to TFM and he's looking forward to your future videos. And Matthew says, "What sim is TFM for? FSX P3D partially works in FS20, I think, doesn't it? Mostly works in FS 2020.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any versions of Flight Simulator 2002, 2004, Flight Simulator 10, Steam Edition, P3D, I think 3, 4, 5. and partial
for-
support for
Essentially,
2020.
essentially anything that essentially anything that FSU IPC works with,
Yeah.
we should work with because it's all one interface. So,
But I don't think that
um,
means you guys are fully committed in making sure like everything works perfect with Microsoft 2020.
Yeah, I think there's
I
some
wouldn't
bits
want anybody
that
to
don't
get that
work in
confused
2020,
neither.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, there is, and I mean, there's larger issues with 2020 than just that. Like I know there's a few of us that use it, but
Matthew Suggs.
there's some pretty major accessibility
Okay, is
issues
that
with
the only
2020
program I need for
anyway.
the Steam version I got?
So at this point, we're not like I don't even actually have it installed, and Andy, I don't think you do either.
Yeah, no, my
So it,
my goal for supporting FS 2020 is when most of or all of the main user interface elements are usable with a screen reader or a braille display or a magnifier,
Yeah, totally
then
agree. They gotta make
we
it accessible
can
first.
look
Yeah.
into it. Then
'Cause
we
right
can
now
look
it's
into
not.
it.
Because I had it installed at one time, and if I'm just putting this out there because someone's like, well, they do
Marshall Fairbrother.
have some menu
No, you need
accessibility.
more stuff
There is
because
no
at the
menu
minute you can't
accessibility
fly with just
whatsoever
it.
right now.
Mm-mm.
You cannot read menus. I don't know
Yeah.
where you came up with that thought or what
OCR
the
is
deal
only
was,
way I
but
found it, really, and it's kind of
yeah, OCR, yeah.
yeah, OCR sort of works. Yep.
And really, OCR don't make it. That's not saying that it's accessible. That's just OCR.
Yeah.
Luckily, reading something that's there.
Another comment
So,
from Matthew who says, and this is a good question for new people, is TFM the only thing you need? At the moment, no. You still need other software to fly, to land especially. You can't use TFM really to do a flight from A to B, to airport, especially like an IFR flight. You need FS Tramp at the moment still. So maybe try that out. If you are very new, maybe have a look at FSX Pilot, which is freeware and is a little bit simpler than FS Tramp, let's say. So maybe try that if you're new. But at the moment, although the ambition is you will be able to, you can't just do a flight with TFM at the moment.
hmm And FSX works a lot better with prop planes, guys. I've been told you can fly it with the jets and stuff, but I've tried it and I've done nosedives from 40,000 feet. Just not pretty. So I'll put
At
that
the
out there
minute-
right now.
Now, didn't
At
FSX
the
Pilot
minute-
change names? Isn't it called?
I think it's
believe-
ASAP
yeah.
now.
If you Google it, you'll still find it. But I believe, they're working. It's now based around 2020, and they're working on the new ASAP project. They now call it, but the old.
So it
FSX
might work a
Pilot
little
still
better
works.
now. I don't know.
Maybe.
I wonder
Yeah.
if the new one works any better, like with the older stuff or not. I don't know. I guess just try it. I guess.
But one comment for Matthew: the minimum amount required to run Flight Simulator with TFM is a Flight Simulator, TFM, FSUIPC, and an autopilot add-in like FSX Pilot or Tramp.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, I'm running P3D5, TFM, and Tramp. That's all I have running in my flight right now.
If you guys are looking for, just real quick, and then we can move on. But if you guys are looking for like the planes and the different things that you need, honestly, I would recommend go to the bvipilots.com. One, register, because then you can communicate with anybody else that's within the BVI community. But number two, we're trying to put everything up there that we can think of that that does work, that is good. So go to bvipilots.com, sign up, and stay connected with that.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Right. We got anything else from anyone? There's no more comments at the moment. Anyone who wants to ask a question, stick it in now, because we will be ending relatively soon.
And you got to be sure to follow also. I've not done many updates on Twitter here lately just because there's just not been many changes to really throw a tweet out every day. Hey, it's not updated. Hey, it's not updated. But I do try
don't do
to
that.
put info out there. The next tweet I'm going to do is I'm going to give you Jason's contact info, his phone
No
number,
TFM
address.
updates for the last 3 days.
No, I'm kidding, Jason.
All inquiries. Jason Fair.
I'll kill you. No, but you can follow at BVI Pilots. Follow it if you want, and we'll try to update you there. Jason's like, give out my
And we
address.
also
See what happens.
we also have a website. Oh, sorry, John. We also have a website, talkingflightmonitor.com or .net. Both work.
Yes.
And so that's where you can get the software, read more about it, and we'll update that. And there's links on there to our Discord server, YouTube channel. Actually, that link isn't up there yet. I will put it up there. And yeah, so that's where you can find all the
Yeah,
info
and we
on
can
us.
throw that in the description. Matter of fact, if you check back, later on, we'll try to have that stuff in the description on the YouTube.
Matthew
I'm
Suggs.
sure Declan can put
So,
that in there.
just
once we
install
get-
your program,
get that link and
FSX
stuff,
Pilot, and I be able to
there's
play my
several ways
stream
to stay
game then?
connected. I think that's the biggest point here is we're all connected, and we try to stay in touch. We try to keep each other updated. But again, Jason, like you said, right now is a rough time, and so things are a little wacky as far as moods and schedules and all that stuff. So
Yeah, absolutely. We got another comment from
Great.
Matthew. So yes, Matthew, yeah, that's right. If you install FSX, Tramp, and TFM, you'll be good to go. Obviously, you'll have to. Oh, sorry, you said you were using FSX Pilot, didn't you? Yeah, I'd agree. It has a simpler interface if you're a beginner. If you dive in a Tramp straight away, it can be a little overwhelming. So yeah, if you install all those, read the TFM documentation to get a basic idea. Read FSX Pilots.
Leonian Universe.
And you will get.
Just to
going.
confirm, all I would need to
Leonian,
fly basically is TFM,
what did you
FS
say?
Pilot
All
or
you would
Tramp,
need is
and
TFM,
P3D or
FS
Flight
Pilot
Sim
Tramp,
2019.
Flight Sim 2019.
Don't want to use
Um,
2020. I don't have to pay
yes,
like 200
Leonian.
bucks on other stuff.
So you would just need. It's not called Flight Sim 2019. It's called FSX or P3D. And I definitely wouldn't go with FS 2020. Steer clear of that for the moment. And so then you just need TFM, Tramp, or Pilot. And so the only thing you're buying is the sim, and possibly Tramp. Everyone bear in mind, Tramp you get 20 sessions free. So give it a try. If you're really not liking it, then get some
Marshall
help and,
Fairbrother.
you'll figure it out.
There is no FlySim 2019, it's FSX.
yeah.
So let me see. I think we're done on that. I think we're done on all the comments. Okay. So this will be archived, of course, unless you've got anything to say, Andy, Jason. Other than that, I think we're good.
And well, remember your guys' channel too, guys. They do have the YouTube for the TFM specifically, and I think Andy,
Yep.
Maybe Jason too, have been doing some of the beginner stuff with TFM as well. So
Yeah.
Go check that out if you're new.
Matter of
We've
fact,
got
I'm
one video
supposed
up
to be
there
doing.
now. Oh, sorry, Andy.
Yeah, no, we have one video up there now, Introduction to the TFM Basics Part 1. I'm supposed to be recording and putting up Introduction to TFM Basics Part 2. We were going to do it earlier this week, but had tons and tons and tons of technical problems because of my other laptop that I had, so this one should solve the problem. And we should, hopefully we'll have it up either sometime tonight or tomorrow.
hey, it's good to hear that our programmer's got a new computer. That's a good thing to hear.
Yeah.
That means
So on the Jason
that
Yeah.
means we that means we can hold you to things more.
That's right.
We can hold you things more now, Andy. We're gonna say, hey, you got no excuses now, pal. Get busy. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I'll
No,
put
it-
Visual Studio in a loop for like 700 years, and then that will be my excuse. I can't access it because.
It does suck though when you got a slower computer to be able to do the programming and stuff. It can definitely make it a little more challenging. So, but
Yeah, so
Yeah,
like
sure.
this one runs so fast. I actually have to get used to response
gotta have
times.
your dog go chase it, don't you?
Yeah, I have to have a lightning bolt go chase it because it's like I'm in Visual Studio and it's like thinking ahead of me and stuff. So
You get so used to
I have to get used to something like
timings,
that.
don't you? Like, oh yeah, it's gonna take so many seconds, and it's ahead of you. So yeah.
You're twiddling your thumbs while it's
Well,
already
thanks for
been
having
done.
us, guys.
You know, yeah, man. I enjoy
Yeah, it's like
bringing you guys on. They will be back again, guys. But it's something that we decided to do this because there was so much confusion, so much. You know, the he said, she said. I bet me and Declan heard something every day. Somebody asking, and we're like, guys,
Yeah.
we
people
we
coming up
don't
here
know.
asking stuff,
We
whatever.
don't know.
Yeah, this is the best place.
Well, now you know. So, if you come to us after today asking a question that's been covered, I'm going to be really disappointed in people because we've cleared everything up here. Everything.
We'll just point you here. Yeah. This is the most current info, and will be for a while because you know the project is ongoing. Like I said, it's not going to be a daily update thing. It's ongoing. So keep an eye out on all the usual.
That's like I
platforms.
mentioned.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Well, it's like I mentioned before that we have so much work to do on TFM that it could keep us busy for the next 5 or 10 years.
Well, yeah, you never know. In the retirement home, working on TFM in 50 years, something like that. Whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. So, it's good having you guys.
All right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right.
All
we'll
right. Thanks
see
for having
you.
us.
Yeah, and this will be up later on the podcast, but should archive on the channel for all the viewers. Alright, thanks for questions, and see you next time.